friends, it's Julia at farmhouseharvest.net. Hey, today I'm just taking you along, showing you the garden this evening. And today we've done a whole bunch in the garden. We have some beds planted, we've got raspberries up, blackberries up, and we've just done a whole bunch. So wanted to take you on a little tour of the end of April, early May garden. We are also doing a lot of landscaping in our yard because we have to put it all in. So I'm going to take you around and show you some of my favorite plants too. So the first thing I'm showing you here is just our grass that's starting to pop up. Yeah, there's some alfalfa in there too, but it is coming. Hey y'all, welcome to my garden. I have this bed right here behind me planted in potatoes, and I am going to add my eggshells that I've been saving to my potato bed. I already added to this potato bed. I did a bag of compost and a new bag, actually like 4 bags of topsoil. I did grow beets in this bed last year, if you remember, but the eggshells provide calcium to potatoes and actually help prevent root rot. And so I am going to just mix these in over top of into the topsoil above the potatoes. I have been saving these eggshells for a couple of months on my counter. Probably looks weird to some people, but they're great to add to your garden. They really help to break up a clay-like soil, which I have. And they also add that calcium that a lot of plants really benefit from, flowers and vegetables alike. Eggshells would also be a great thing to add to your soil before you even plant your potatoes, but I didn't get to that, so I am just going to kind of rake that into my bed right now, and it will be there for next year. So I'm just going to give you a short little tour of our early spring garden. We are just barely getting out here and getting things planted. It's actually, we are not past our last frost date until Mother's Day, so second week of May. But I already have planted things that actually live and do really well in the cold weather, and that is cabbages. So I've got 6 of the red cabbages, 4 of the green cabbages. Those are the Copenhagen market ones, and the red ones are actually, well, it just says cabbage, red cabbage. Anyways, I'll be using the red cabbages to make fermented red sauerkraut, which is really delicious. And then the green ones we will just use for salads and stuff. And then I've got a whole bunch of kales planted, and these ones do really well in cold weather. All of these do really well in cold weather. These 2 bigger kales are actually from last year, and we just pulled off some of the dead leaves and added about 4 bags of topsoil to this bed and got those all planted, and they've been in here for a few days now, and it has been pretty cold, but they're doing really well. And then this bed is going to be my daughter's bed, but she is sharing it with me. She did plant a whole bunch of sweet peas along here, and there's some wires to hold that up, but she let me put some Brussels sprouts in there. And then we've got more sage and thyme in here. I do have a little repair I need to do on the drip line, but that bed has been planted. Over here in this bed, I did plant a bunch of red beets again. I do the Detroit Reds. They're really good for canning, and I love pickled beets. And then we have the 2 boxes of strawberries that we had last year too, so we just added topsoil to those. And then back here we've got 3 rows of raspberries and 1, 2, 3 rows of blackberries. I do need to put some more weed barrier there, and we're just starting to put up the posts and the wire to support those. But we should have a pretty good we should have a pretty good raspberry harvest this year. The blackberries, I've got 2 rows of new blackberry starts, and then this is an older row of blackberries, so we should get some good blackberries off of that. But The blackberries are definitely not as developed as the raspberries are. This bag of peat moss is here from actually planting a new peach tree that we planted over on the south side of the house, but I am using the topsoil is the Cowgirls potting soil. It's the 32 dry quartz. So last year we planted these blackberries, and these ones came from my mother-in-law's house. She doesn't even know what variety they are because she got starts from her sister, I believe. But last year we did not have these tied up, and so all these long vines, they kind of look like they're the beginnings of grapevines, but they were all laying on the ground. And so my daughter and I spent a day just putting the wire up and then just weaving them all into the wires so that they can all be off the ground. And some of them, blackberries will actually root if they're on the dirt. So we did have some of them re-root into the ground, and we just cut those off like a foot. I'll show you one that was that way. We had a few of them, but so this stem right here, it started on this plant and it went all the way to here, and then it re-rooted itself into the ground. So now this is its own plant now. So I just cut it in half. I gave it a couple of feet, and then I'll just need to train it up onto the wires so that it doesn't do that again and it stays up and grows up. And then it actually happened again right next to it. This plant where this one's cut off was actually attached to this one where it had re-rooted in the ground from the tip. So these tips of the vines, if it's laying on the dirt, it will re-root into the ground and make another plant. So it's important to keep them up off the ground if you don't want a mess of a blackberry patch. I'm gonna check and see if there's any more eggs. This is a red barlette pear tree. It is its second year and it's doing really well. I actually got this tree for $50 because at the end of the season they go on sale. So anyways, that was a really good buy. I'm excited about that one. This one is a Granny Smith apple tree. I put these by the chicken coop on purpose so that we could throw any fruit that was bad into the chickens. So hopefully they like apples. This is our sweet cherry tree. I really want to get a pie cherry tree too, but this is just alfalfa growing up everywhere. Our house was an alfalfa field. Our yard was an alfalfa field, and now we are planting grass. So that's what you see coming up everywhere. But I'm super excited. This tree's doing really well. I don't have the tag on there, so I'm not exactly sure what kind it is for sure. But so on the whole south side of our backyard has this berm, and that's because this field is flood irrigation. If you see that white pipe back there, the only way that is to water this field right now is with the flood irrigation. And so that water will come down these rows and it would just go right into our crawl space. So we have just a little berm to stop it right now, but I believe we will be putting sprinklers in here because I really want to turn this into a pasture this year. This tree right here is one of my favorites. We actually dug this up from the house, our last house, and brought it with us. It's just so much bigger. I mean, this tree is probably a 4-year-old tree, and at this point they're pretty much just irreplaceable. I don't like to sit around and wait for trees to grow, so it is nice to have them already big. But this is a honey locust, and they just have these, they get huge. They are also called like a shade master tree because they get a really big canopy, which is great for shade. But they only have these little tiny leaves that they have, you know, so many of, but you don't have to rake them up. They're just so tiny, they just mulch your grass for you. Then this tree is my favorite tree. It's kind of a funny shape for it, but this is an autumn blaze maple tree. And it gets really big, but my favorite thing about it is that in the fall, the leaves turn a beautiful red, which is just going to be beautiful against the white fence and the white house. So I'm excited about this one. This one's already really big too, although we just put it in this spring, but it's got to be at least 20 feet high. I am going to be doing a ton of gardening this year with you guys, but I love these double take pink quince. They need to be full sun, but they have the most beautiful little flowers. I actually bought 2 of these, but I'm gonna do 3 because I like sets of 3 instead of sets of 2. So I'm really excited about those. And those are right next to the peach tree that we just got. I picked this peach tree up at DMB. I think it was only $120, but it's doing really well. It's got a ton of blossoms on it, which are really pretty. And they look really pretty next to the White House. This window right here is my bathroom window, so I'll get to look out, and it'll provide some privacy for the bathroom window too. But this is a Red Haven peach, and I picked this one because it is a freestone peach, which means that the cavity where the seed grows inside the peach, it grows away from the seed. So when it's ripe, you can just cut it open and the seed comes out without any fuss at all. And it just makes it much easier for eating and slicing, and just makes it a lot more enjoyable and easy to use. So this one we dug a big hole, we probably put 3 gallons of peat moss in there and then a bag of compost, and then planted the tree in there. It's really important with fruit trees to make sure you don't plant it any deeper than it already is in the pot. And then if we come a little bit farther down, the flower bed, which we will be putting weed barrier on. These are the peonies, if you guys remember. We planted these in February. I wasn't sure if they'd make it because it snowed at least 3 times after I planted these. But they are doing very well. So this one and that one back there are the Sarah Bernhardts. And they're doing really well. Then this one in the middle is my favorite, and coral something. It's just a gorgeous flower. I did notice that they had those at the DMB, which is like a tractor supply store, and they were about $25. I got these off Etsy for, I think I paid $15 for that one, and it's doing really well. So I'm super excited about that. If we come a little bit farther down the flower bed, we are by the back porch. My son-in-law picked these out and planted them for me. I always thought hydrangeas needed some shade, but these are a full sun hydrangea. Firelight. And these ones are doing really well and starting to bud out. So there's a couple of those. Then these trees, my son-in-law, Shane, his family has owned a nursery his whole life, and he has just a wealth of knowledge. He picked these out for me, and I believe I have 2, one in the front and one in the back, but it's a Diabolo 9 bark, and it has this really cool bark. And then these trees have flowers. They just bud out with flowers, and so I look forward to that, but they also don't get too big, and when you're planting right next to the house, you don't want to have a tree that's going to give you problems with the roots growing underneath your porch or your concrete foundation. So I think these are going to be the perfect size. And then he also did these. They're kind of like a boxwood, but not quite. They grow taller. So we got a few of those. And then the Carl Forster grasses on the end for me. Those are doing really well. I flagged the peonies, so we could be careful for them. Then I built this bed all by myself. It's not the best. I mean, it's not as big. They're 2x6s. It's made 2x6s, and I cut the weed barrier out underneath it and then kind of pulled it up and lined the bed with it. And this is my pepper bed. So I've got some yellow bell peppers, then just some sweet peppers right here. And then I planted some Anaheim peppers and jalapeno peppers for pickled jalapenos. Hopefully they do better this year. And over here we planted potatoes in this bed, and these are the purple potatoes that I love. They're purple inside and out, and they're actually starting to come up a little bit. You can see little potato sprouts coming up. So that's super exciting. And I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different than normal, but I love gardening. I love the yard. I thoroughly enjoy it and hope that you did too. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We'll see you next time.